Go check Facebook, you're all wrong.
Yeah, we're on. We're on.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, we're on.
Because of my narrow bandwidth, you're going to have to keep an eye on the comments for me, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. Click to expand. No comments yet.
No, we've only just come on. We'll get 7 viewers.
Yeah.
8 viewers. 9 viewers.
Alex Adam.
Hi, Robert. You can introduce the Facebook crew.
Bonjour, mes amis.
Nah, don't start that fish.
I'm just practicing so when I have to run to France and go, I'm an illegal. I'm a refugee. So I've got Alex Adam, Julie Brown, Luke Gowans, Alan Duncan, Bobby Russell, Mags McLaughlin, Patricia Fergus, Paul Fulton, Bob Robertson.
Aye, that's enough.
Tommy Gurley, Ewan Guthrie.
And on YouTube we have millions.
Millions. How many you got there? We've got millions.
Hi Robert. Hi Stephen. Hi Paul. Hi John. I'm waiting a special guest today. I have an award for him.
Yes, second down from the top.
Oh, you know.
On Restream it is. Aye, he's there.
Ah, there you're there.
Alright.
Hi John. It's nice to see you there. Nobody seeing you again. You don't ever speak to a guest in my show the way you spoke to Jenny Ellis. Bye, John. So that's the end of the London block bus driver.
I was going down there in a few weeks' time. I could have found out what bus he was on. He's never been. In actual fact, I have to say to you, he's never been on a bloody bus.
Oh, 77 Brigade, absolute troll.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
he's not speaking to your guests like that. And anyway, on you go. Let's get this show on.
We were going to do a show on something else, but somebody made a financial statement this morning, and we thought we better give you the lowdown on it. All right, so I hope you don't mind, guys. We're not going to bore you with individual facts. We might put a few facts and figures in where it's relevant, right? But we've got a few things to say about Mr. Hunt's statement. And
that, David.
Yeah, he promised that his financial statement would create stability, growth, and it would help public services. Well, okay. I think I'll let David take over before I eat the screen.
Okay, let's have a look at some of the smoke and mirrors they pulled today. Okay, let's have a look at the NHS 3.3 billion extra. Guess what, kiddies? He just adjusted the budget in line with inflation as it stands in September. Not even as it stands today, but in September.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the very same with the education budget and all the other announcements he made on the benefit of public services. The one that was really interesting, the one that John Burgess, I hope he's still watching even though he's blocked here, was the social care down that road. They're going to up the council tax so that social care gets paid for. Wow.
4.7 billion. That's quite a healthy amount to take out of the councils, isn't it? Huh?
Well, it's not really the councils, it's the council taxpayers who are going to have to cough that.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes.
And that means that a Band D house down there in the poorest areas has now broken the £2,000 threshold.
Now, the most important...
I live in a Band D house here in North Lanarkshire, and I pay £1,100 a year. A Band D house in the poorest areas in England just broke the £2,000 barrier.
Yeah. Now, let me just put this in, David, right? The most important thing that has been done, if you imagine that the Tory strategists, they've got to plan out what's going to happen to the party in the future. I think because of the work that David and I have done, sorting out the logic of this, they know that they're going to lose in the next general election. They know they're going to get bumped. So as strategists, they try and figure out what's the shortest way that we can be out of power. So in other words, we end up with the Labour get in and they serve one term or even less, right? That's how the Tory strategists want it, right? And what Hunt did today was he set the timer on a time bomb that is going to go off literally at the end of 2024, going into 25.
We spoke about that. We spoke about it. I mean, it's interesting with some of Hunt's announcements, like a tax bans and tax rates to be frozen until 2028. No government can hold another government to its pledges when they get in.
That's
so right. The whole premise of and I need to put people right on this, folks, this was not a budget, it was a fiscal statement.
Yeah.
It was a route map or a plan, and very little of what was announced today will actually be actioned today or be actioned after the actual budget in April next year, which means the kill is still on this winter.
Yeah.
And when I say the kill is still on this winter, I mean it.
We'll lose the next general election too.
They know they're going to get this winter.
Yeah.
Shut that down.
Yeah, sorry. The picture had frozen. Sorry.
To refresh the page.
Yeah, I did.
That's not your fault, it's mine. It's happening at this end of the bandwidth. That's why I haven't to get Facebook open the rest of it. In fact, it's because I don't have Facebook open. At least the bankers are once more encouraged to get creative with other people's money. You know what? You're right. I'm going to put that one up because the one thing that did happen today, which shows the true trajectory of where we're going, is that the cap on bankers' bonuses is still lifted. What's also interested in what actually happened today in the fiscal statement is because none of this stuff let's simplify this, David. The statement today wasn't for the people. The statement today was actually for the markets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was to give the market its confidence that there would be more stability going forward. But there is a few things in what happened today which could go extremely wrong by April next year.
Mm-hmm.
For a start, we're starting to see a really, really rapid contraction of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about to get even more rapid. Maybe hold up for till Christmas is by.
Mm-hmm.
But I would reckon the first quarter next year is going to be telling.
Yeah.
The second quarter next year, starting in April, might well be where he has to roll back on some of the things that's been said in this fiscal statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's understand that.
Did I know we've been talking about this, the idea of the windfall tax being put up to 35%. They could have made it 95% because their Shell, who basically have made a massive profit just over the last few quarters, and they haven't paid a penny in the 25% windfall tax. Put up to 35%, it's going to be exactly the same. We'll go to
do you want to explain to the people why, David?
Yeah, well, they'll go to B&Q and they'll buy another blooming £3 hammer, claw hammer, and that's it. They won't have to pay another penny. It's if they invest. If any investments that they make in their own gear in the North Sea,
they can write up
to get away from that 25%. So in actual fact, they're helping themselves while helping themselves. Mm-hmm. It's a double whammy. It's like, if somebody said to me, David, go and buy yourself a set of brand new meters, and we're not going to charge you a penny in tax if you do that. I'd go, Brilliant, right? Some new toys from a toy box.
Shed full of meters. Yeah. But it's a ruse. Unless Hunt changes the actual rules of the windfall tax, then they'll not find the windfall tax, because what they're saying, they're writing it off the investment to produce more hydrocarbons, which the planet really can't afford at this point in time. Because let's face it, I am living pretty high up in the Central Belt, as high as in fact, as high as you can get in the Central Belt. I live in the Tapia, right? And this is November 17, and we haven't had a frost. We haven't had a frost. I bought this house 17 years ago. We used to get fucking snow in June.
Just about that, right? Do you, when you look out that window, are you looking back towards the city?
Aye.
Yeah. So, like on the warm days, can you actually see a haze?
Aye. In fact, you remember I did a broadcast for the bridge or the motorway down there during the lockdown, where the sky was beautifully blue, that brown haze wasn't there.
Aye. Yeah.
You know. So yes, it's back, David. You know, Buster and I climbed to the start of a hill, and we can look right across the city.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Back to the financial statement. Refer to notes. I took down loads of notes at the start. You know, there was a lot of whataboutery going on when he was mentioning about how Europe and the rest of the world were, and Germany was mentioned a lot. Germany was Germany's going to have worse inflation. They're going to have worse this, worse that, and all that. Right. To be honest with you, I'll be surprised. Germany are generally quite well organised when it comes to financial matters and all the rest of it. They don't have any or too many Tories there, right? But they're expecting that the different... What?
The idea that there's not that many Tories in Germany, comfy.
Well,
it's one of the most conservative states in Europe.
What I mean is, our brand of Tories. Lying bastard.
They're not Tories, they're whites.
Now, do you know the difference between inflation and core inflation?
Yes.
The difference is that core inflation does not include energy costs or food costs, right? That's your core inflation. And what he did was he gave us a core inflation rate for this year and next year. This year it will finish on 9.1%, and next year it will be 7.4%, right? And I was looking at Sky's sort of breakdown of the full the next 4 or 5 years, right? And inflation actually got into negative territory by something like 3.5% in 2025, right? Now, if that happens, I'll tell you now, the chairman of the Bank of England will turn into the Easter Bunny, right? Seriously. Because it ain't going to happen, guys. It ain't going to happen.
Let's look at it the other way. Negative inflation is not a good thing either.
Yeah, I know that.
Because if there's inflation, if we stagnate to zero inflation, then there is no movement in anything, never mind the markets.
Yep.
You've just hit dead economy.
To the end user, that's great because the prices are going down and down and down, right?
And nobody sells anything at cost, David. You can't have negative inflation. So what the fuck was Sky on about?
I really don't know. Some of the stuff that were coming out was
manufacturing costs or the price of growing the stuff. There's always going to be an inflationary never mind, it's just mental. The idea of negative inflation.
Yeah, it was honestly. It showed you inflation coming down and down and down and down and down. And to be honest with you, I think yet again the guy that was doing all the graphs.
The only place where negative equity exists is actually in land usage or buildings.
Or buildings, that's right. Yeah, that's when people kind of sell.
You have inflation in a market. A market needs a degree of inflation.
It's normal inflation is natural. It's good for the economy because everybody agrees that the price is going to go up a little bit as time goes on, right? But then wages and all the rest of it are able to keep up with that easily, right? And what it means is that the economy operates properly. Whereas if you've got too much inflation, as we've got at the moment, wages cannot keep up. Price of things just go out, go sky high, the rocket, right? And people die. People end up, they can't feed their families. You know, it's something like that.
Let's break inflation down to the core of what it is. The core of what inflation is the price of manufacturing plus the profit margin to pay your workers and have a profit, and ensure that your workers have enough to buy the goods that you produce. Henry Ford was an absolute genius with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to be able to make a profit out of manufacturing, growing, or whatever it is you do.
Mm-hmm.
That introduces, and then you've got to be able to pay your workers. These are one inflationary pressures. What the rascals in the banking sector and in the huge international corporations have worked out is that they can manipulate this stuff.
Yeah, and a great way to manipulate it is to cut off 27 of your nearest market and literally close the doors, and then your inflation will start to go sky high. And it can't be controlled by interest rate hikes.
No, listen, we've got an argument going on in the monetary policy committee right now. You might not be aware of it, but a few of them are saying moving interest rates up at this point in time will extend the recession, and they will not actually have a positive effect in bringing down inflation.
Yeah.
Because, as we know, the inflationary pressures this time are not the normal inflationary pressures. They're actually coming from outside sources. And actually, they're being manipulated by the fossil fuel producers.
Can you put up Stephen Charlton's comment? Stephen Charlton at Jimbo, price of a pint of milk up here in Orkney is now £1.
Jimbo, aren't we?
Yeah. No, it's Steve Charlton. That is there, right?
What's
a pint? What the hell's a pint? The last time I got a pint of milk, I must have been like 17 or something like that, right? So is that £1 for a litre? Is that what you're saying?
No, he says £1 for a pint.
£1 for? I haven't seen a pint of milk in ages.
468 millilitres, all right. You know, goat, and I'm younger than you. Wow. We turn that into metric for this old boy. Jesus Christ. Looks to be an engineer, Tay. I can still work in inches and feet. I just look at the size of my cock.
That's why we have the millimetre scale, David. Right, the Henry Ford days are gone, Davy. They use robots now. There's your problem there, says Eddie. And Eddie, we could have an entire programme just devoted to that one single issue, including every single one of the auto cashiers that you get in Tesco's.
Let's not go there. Let's get back to the Tesco's taping, dear boy. Let's not get too far off the mark.
Yeah,
although if you want to talk a wee bit about eggs. They put a light on, it's getting dark. There you are.
Right, so where were we? Right, fiscal statement. Okay. The defence, but the only thing I've got to say is the defence budget is going to remain at 2% of GDP.
Lovely.
Yeah. So there you are. Your Chancellor actually wasted an entire lungful of breath to say that the defence budget will be maintained at 2% of GDP.
So the defence budget's being cut by 11.1%, based on inflation at this point in time. Okay, let's
Absolutely.
translate this into absolute normal language for people.
And what about the other one, which was a waste of breath? He said, hand on heart, he said, we will maintain, as per our promises with COP26, for a 68% reduction in emissions by 2030. That man knows that saying things like that, he might not be, his party might not be in power. In actual fact, it's more than likely they'll not be in power, because if you figure a 5-year term, right? If they went early January 2025 for the general election, it could be 2030, after 2030, or just getting into 2030, by the time they actually get back into power, right?
The thing is, but the fixed term Parliament Act's not there anymore, so
yeah.
Let's avoid that, but let's get back to what you were talking about there.
No, the greater point I'm making, the greater point I'm making is that to stick to that 68% reduction of emissions, it was a non-statement. It is something they can just go, oh, well, we said that at the time, the last
and let's also look at the actual reality of what he did in the fiscal statement while saying that.
Yeah.
He put a windfall tax on green energy.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
temporary.
We will do this while doing that, and that will prevent us from doing this.
Yeah.
That means investment in green energy is no there.
That's right.
Because of the windfall tax, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, so he's put in place a temporary 45% levy on electricity generators from the 1st of January.
Yep.
So, and what was the other one I wrote, which I thought was rather interesting? Windfall was this. Yeah, the energy windfall tax, which went from 25% to 35%, which is going to generate £0, right?
Uh-huh.
That goes from the 1st of January until March 2028.
That's right.
That literally takes it right into the territory where we should be seeing a Labour government in place. Yeah.
Oh, we're not seeing fuck all in place. We'll be independent.
Yeah. Now let's get on to the laughable statement. 600,000 more people on universal credit will meet a work coach to increase hours and incomes or earnings.
And how is he going to do that in a shrinking market?
Right. My very thought, I was going to ask you the same question. How are you going to do that? How are you going to? Come on, Mr. McGuinness. How are you going? You're good at the how you going. How are you going to do that?
Rejoin the single market and the customs union.
But the thing is, though, he's talking about everybody's going to meet up with a work coach.
Aye, and no doubt they'll appoint these companies that need a work coach, and they'll just give money to their pals because the work coach can't find the work that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And that'll bring us to eggs.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is going to sound like a tangent, but it's no. It's a serious point. The reason why you're seeing a shortage of eggs in your shelves is not because of Brexit or anything else. Well, it's a mixture of Brexit and other things. M&S are actually wealthy enough to be able to import the stuff to Italy at this point in time, but everybody else is rationing, which is re-entering our lexicon. But what is really interesting about the situation is that farmers are just downscaling because they can't afford to produce the stuff anyway.
Yeah, that's right. If you're a farmer and you've maybe got a few thousand chickens producing eggs, and that they've got a cost of feed, of housing, of you've got to keep them in big barns or whatever. Even if you do the factory farming, it is still very, very expensive. And what's happening is that the big retail outfits are not prepared to pay the money to allow the farmers to continue running their operations. Cost of energy, cost of food, cost of everything.
Something else that you and I were talking about before we come on. there's a few viewers here which would have seen the video I put out on food security about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
And it's coming home. It's coming home to roost because they can't kick the Brexit can down the line anymore.
Now, I'm going to
less choice in our supermarkets and all that sort of thing.
I'm going to put David under a wee bit of pressure. I'm sure it's no, but what I'm going to ask him to do is find that video and actually make a video where he introduces it and lets you because just this guy that I call my pal, he has had marvellous insight over the past so many years, and that particular video about food security and all the rest of it, that should open your eyes as to just how much insight he has got. So there you go. There's a plug for you, Davey.
Hi, thanks. It was a great video. I ended up arguing with a professor in Edinburgh about it. Actually, it was a great time. It was a great thread on the Facebook timeline when I did the video. We ended up coming to an agreement after about 5 or 6 hours of arguing because the guy thought I didn't know what I was talking about, but he was working in genetically modified seeds, which can only be rebought for the company each year because they don't produce seeds that you can re-sow. A bit like Monsanto, and him being a professor, he didn't think I had any idea what it was he was doing. So when I asked him what he was doing, I asked him, well, obviously I'd already Wikipedia the guy, knew what he was doing, like, you know, and the company I was working for, well, I already knew what they were doing anyway because I got an interest in food security. And food security at this point in time is going to become an issue, folks. We're just about to have the veterinary checks put on all meat products, and it's costing UK businesses twice as much as European businesses because we don't have the butchers in there to do the stuff for sale. So we're having to send it into Europe to be processed, and then we're having to import it back in, doubling the bloody cost to get it onto the supermarket shelves. So keep a wee eye on that one, folks, because meat prices after the end of this month are about to start climbing. And that's where the deal with Australia and New Zealand is dangerous to our health because they're going to import hormone injected beef and lamb from Australia in the price on. But remember, by the time it gets here, it's been in freezing boxes all the way from Australia here. You're getting poorer quality produce, which will have a detrimental effect on the health of the people.
Just when I remember, says Eddie, that's the electric cars getting clobbered now. Oh, well.
I put that up. That was part of the fiscal statement as well. It's interesting how all these things interlink.
Can you put up Fiona Allen pensioners to get £800 a year equal to £15 a week does not cover the cost of living rise. What doesn't actually cover an awful lot at all, does it? You think about it.
But when you think about it, pensions have just at an £880 rise, right? Yeah. That's a 10.1% rise. That would suggest that the state pension's about £8,000 a year.
Yeah.
I pay £3,000 a year for my electricity.
Yeah, that's right.
I already pay £3,000 a year for my electricity, which will bring us on to his electricity price cap. We already spoke about it.
And I know through previous conversations that you are actually running quite a tight ship in terms of how you're using things.
Yes.
Yeah. So, a pensioner might be sitting there in a house that isn't very well insulated, and they've maybe got an electric fire in the living room. That's it. Because that's the way it was with my parents. We had one electric fire in the living room. The rest of the house wasn't heated at all. But there you go.
Ali Watson's got a point. Aye, but they were paying tariffs to get in before Ali.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the tariffs weren't great. They were still making a profit sending it here. But if you remember, I remember it, and David will be old enough to remember, when we used to go and buy a bit of lamb back in the 70s, it was all New Zealand lamb and things like that as well, because it was cheaper. We were outside the single market, and we had deals with New Zealand and Australia, and they were undercutting our farmers back then.
That's right.
I'm old enough to remember this stuff, and that's the reason why I've been interested in food security all my life. Because I could drive around Scotland in the back of my dad's car while we're visiting all these castles and historical places and going, how come there's so many cheap in the fucking field? Why aren't they on my plate? Because every time my mom put one down, there was a stamp on it that said New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Remember, David?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Every leg of lamb came out for a Sunday dinner and there was a stamp on it that said fucking New Zealand.
Yeah.
Into the flesh of the beast.
Yeah. And yet, our own industry, our own farming industry, did produce lambs as well. Of course they did. You know, it's not something we've just started doing. Yeah. So.
Well, as I say, we're going backwards. In the 70s, New Zealand lamb was cheaper than Scottish lamb. Because it was cheaper quality and it wasn't as good.
Let's see if I can. Brian Stewart says, watch this YouTube blogger in Russia. They wouldn't put up with food shortages like we do. Why? There would be mass protests and Putin would be out in his ear. Less football in supermarkets. Less football in supermarkets in Russia. Yeah, Brian, to be honest with you, I think Putin can get away with an awful lot. I think, truth be known, there's a percentage of the population in Russia that are against Putin, but there's an awful lot of people that are for him. So let's just keep that one where it is, or where it should be.
David, what I do want to reiterate here is today was not a budget.
No.
It was a promissory note.
Yeah.
And circumstances will determine whether that promissory note can be met in April.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I really don't think they're that bothered. I don't think they're that bothered. I think, you know, the one thing that came out was that he did nothing about non-dom status. Why? Because his next door neighbour would have been throwing blooming lighted sticks at his back door because his wife has still got non-dom status.
Well,
yeah,
you know, the non-dom thing, people make a big deal out of it, right? But when I look at it, if you scrap non-dom now, all you're dragging in is nothing. What you do is you see the finance flee.
Yeah.
Because with non-dom status at this point in time, they might not be paying tax themselves, but their employees pay tax.
Aye, but the thing is, though, as you could see, Rishi Sunak's wife played fast and loose with her blooming staff. So I don't really think there was very, very much.
And that was because of the situation they created through Brexit and then the pandemic. She knew it was time to bail out. So she shut down her UK operations after taking what she could to the UK government. And that's what would happen with everybody else in that situation.
Mr. E says, today was a raising of the guillotine, not a budget.
No, it was definitely not a budget. It was a promissory note for what they might do in April. And it wasn't aimed at the people, it was aimed at the markets.
Yeah.
And the markets know that this promissory note's all very well, provided the contraction doesn't go as fast as what most people like myself are expecting it to.
Yeah. Well, you know, whilst he was actually speaking, I watched the FTSE 100 went from 5% down, 0.5% down to 0.55% down. Eventually was getting on to 0.6% down. In a fairly short space of time, that's quite a contraction on that. But also the currency market started to contract a little as well. Okay, it wasn't as much as we'd seen in previous weeks, but still, I've got to say, I think it was a reaction to what they were hearing on the fiscal statement.
It stabilised quite quickly because they realised it was a promissory note. You know, a pound to the US dollars just went back to where it was at the start of play this morning. The FTSE's recovered about half it. The FTSE 250's recovered all yet. But some of the smaller markets around about haven't recovered at all. The VXX and things like that are just, they didn't bomb, but they dropped a bit.
Yeah.
What was interesting was the stock market in Paris Had a great boom the day. And they've just taken out the mantle as Europe's biggest stock market.
Yeah, that's right.
They've taken it away from the London Stock Exchange.
And I don't think they've taken it away. I think it's just that the London Stock Exchange has contracted so much over the past couple of months.
Well,
the might have been doing that, but all of a sudden the London Stock Exchange went with that.
The mini budget sees 7.6 billion free London on the day of that announcement.
That's right.
On the very day of the announcement of the budget, 7.6 billion quid in investment in the City of London fled that very day.
I heard the screams of sell felt here, honestly. You've got to imagine if you're sat with maybe like £50 million, just £50 million, which in government terms is nothing, right? But that's your personal wage that you've got in various stocks, shares, and all the rest of it, right? And you see something wrong happening. What you do is you say, right, okay, liquidate the lot here, and that's it. And you take your money, get it in a Frankfurt bank or a bank in Paris or whatever, and that's it. There you go, right?
David, I'm in the process of doing it myself.
Yeah.
You know that? I'm in the process of doing it myself.
Well, you get 50 million, have you?
No, I've only got 250,000.
I know, but that's a pension for you. You know what I mean? So
I'm in the process of looking at actually because of they've kicked it down the road a wee bit, but with the fiscal statement today, I was looking at actually retiring.
Yeah.
Because the amount of annuity I could buy today would be a fraction of the amount of annuity I'd be able to buy in 2 or 3 months or in 2 years' time when the policy actually expires.
Yeah.
When I'm 57.
Yeah.
So I might have been better buying that annuity today as opposed to tomorrow.
Yeah, you've got to remember
it will be worth less tomorrow.
Yeah, as you get towards the end of that policy term, right, then you are forced into going then.
No,
it's not.
I can ask to extend the policy.
Oh, well, if that's the case, that's good.
But I was only looking at drawing down an amount to do a bit of work in the house. But now I'm looking at it and saying, should I actually retire right now and buy an annuity worth this amount?
Yeah.
Because it might not be worth that amount when my policy expires in 2027.
All right, okay, right.
Right. Which is important to people. But that's how important this stuff is to investors. And I'm only a small scale investor.
Yeah.
I've only invested in pension funds for the last 30 odd years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I am an investor.
Right. Nico de Schmidt says to Fiona Allen, he says, building a nuclear power station takes about a decade. It takes, around the world, the average of building a nuclear power station is 7 years. Right? Okay. So you're right. I'm not going to argue that with you, right? So it's not a decision which will not happen now. It is moved on to the next to Parliament. So
that's an interesting one for Mr. E. Invest in PP, David. They seem to be doing okay. Mr. E, my pension policy is almost 36 years old. I've been investing in tobacco, weapons, and oil for years.
The only problem is he still smokes the bloody stock. There you go.
But to be honest, I've taken a hit under Truss as well. I lost £800 a year.
Yeah.
I own Truss's mini budget, Trussonomics. So we all taken a hit, as I say, but I've got to measure up right now whether I actually retire right now or I let the policy run. Will the policy survive the next 2 years? I'm really thinking about retiring.
Well, guys, he'll be a rich git, and if you want to see me, I'll be sat in front of Queen Street train station with a cup on the pavement. All right, so if you go by,
I told David. I mean, when we're talking about buying an annuity, I'm talking about buying an annuity that's only worth what I get, what I earn today. Or in fact, actually, about £2,000 less. You know, something like that. Buy rubles. Any buy rubles.
Yeah.
But when I invested in this policy, the pot was supposed to be twice what it is today.
Yeah.
Right?
But we have had a Tory government, you know that.
No, Gordon Brown was the first one to crash the pensions. The Tories did it second. In a tent in Davies' garden. You're welcome, Mr. E. Say the garden's about 6 foot long and 2 foot wide. I live in a flat. No, technically it's an apartment.
Here we are in the Serengeti. No, it's David McGuinness's garden.
£7,000 for April, David. Wow, Eddie. Well, as I say, you'll know what I'm talking about because you'll be watching this stuff as well. It does have an effect on ordinary people's lives. A big effect on ordinary people's lives. But we have to reiterate that today was not a budget. It was a promissory note, a direction of travel, a fiscal statement. It was not a budget.
Yeah.
And between now and April is a very long time in politics and in the markets. What they promised they would do today is not what they could deliver tomorrow. And remember, these increases that we're talking about the services, they were only adjustments to inflation. Dave and I spoke about this before. You all come on as well. And we looked at the education budget, and we looked at the NHS budget, and we looked at all these different budgets, and we got our calculator out and worked it out. And basically, the 10% rise, the money that's being promised is only an adjustment for inflation. So the Barnett formula of consequentials is only an adjustment for inflation. That's all Hunt did today. It was a clever bit of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And it was an adjustment for inflation going forward.
Yeah.
It wasn't an adjustment for set on September's rates. And you've got to remember, we are now at the point where the Bank of England 2 months ago said that we would be in May next year. The Bank of England stated 2 months ago at the Monetary Policy Committee that they expected inflation rates to hit 11.1% in May next year. This is November. 2 months on, and we've hit that 11.1%. Will it beat the Maggie days at 18% inflation? What?
Yeah.
Brexit could well see it going that far.
Yeah. And, you know, I do suggest if you get a chance, Davey, have a look online for Sky's analysis of everything today as to where things are going. They do show, I'm sure it's 3.5% negative inflation.
Well, that's a dead economy. That's a dead economy. Oh, that's actually just as bad as hyperinflation, David.
Also, at the same time, they're showing the 7.5% minus figure in the money in our pockets. That's it.
The value of the money, the pound in your pocket will be down 7%.
Yeah.
As I say, negative inflation is just as bad as hyperinflation. That's a dead economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hyperinflation kills a currency. Negative inflation kills an economy.
An economy, yeah. Yeah.
We may as well be honest with people here.
Plus the fact, as I said, it is a time bomb waiting for Sir Keir, should he be daft enough to take the keys to number 10. He'll get into number 10 and he'll realise that the country is in that bad a state that it wouldn't be worth setting up a government. He will set up a government. He'll do it just for the sake of, you can say he was Prime Minister for a while, right?
But he won't be able to deliver on the promises that he's made.
No, he won't.
Because there is no wriggle room within the budget, apparently. Now, let's get to the reality of this. Owen Jones did a cracking video on it as well. Now, most of this is absolute pish. We are 97% owners of the Bank of England. And the Bank of England are the custodians of our debt, which means we actually owe the money to ourselves, which is a point that Professor Richard Murphy was making. They're just numbers on a balance sheet. They don't mean nothing.
Right off.
Correct. Just Davey, right, tenner you owed me. Well, you don't really owe me, because let's face it, it's an accumulative tenner. It belongs to us all.
I like that one from Junie K says, after the London-Grad laundromat shuts down, what will be England's main export? Hereditary grievances?
Hey, David, you better have a look and see what's been said on Facebook.
Oh, right. Bloody hell, they've all been writing as hard as they can. Took the whole stride out. Oh, that was a bad one there for Helen. Electric cars already cost more than fuel cars to run. Taxing them will put more off. Scott Noble.
I don't know whether that's true or no. I don't have an electric car.
Yeah. Well, I bought Leslie for her Christmas one of them big electric throws. Yeah, there you go. Cost me 56 quid, right? Wasn't it cheap, right, for a throw, but it's electric, right? But a lot of people don't realise this. If something uses a wound component to actually generate the electricity for the device, if you run it at 9, which is its highest level, and then you change it to 1, which is its lowest level, you still the power is still running around the wound component, and it doesn't necessarily equate to it's using 1/9 of the electricity. Just thought I'd mention that.
They don't write off debt in the past with a flick of a pen. Actually, they've just done it again on dodgy PPE contracts and things like that. And as was mentioned today, they're winding down the task force that was there to get our money back for fraudulent claims on things like bounce back loans and things like that. Because I mean, really, I've got a couple of companies that are sitting along there in a company house in Edinburgh. Actually, they claimed they were active and they claimed money after the government, and they were doing so little due diligence, they would have bloody well given it to me.
It's like
they got away with it because they're winding down the schemes to catch these buggers.
It's like robbing a bank and then giving redundancy notices to the detectives who are investigating the said robbery.
That's exactly what's happening, David. When you get right down here, this is one of the most corrupt and regimes and countries stroke unions in the planet. Because you've got to remember, we've got the Scottish trust deeds as well. And I don't mean the debt ones, I'm talking about the ones that use to offshore their money here in Scotland, Scottish Trust they call them.
Yeah.
So it goes on in Edinburgh as well as London.
Yeah.
But while we're under the regime in London, we can't do nothing about what's going on in Edinburgh.
That's right. That's right. Okay, I think we've said enough about the financial statement that we can. To be honest with you guys, there's nothing there to cheer about. If you are a pensioner who is enjoying the idea that the triple lock is still in place, well, maybe it's not that good news if you really think about it. You know, it'd be nice to actually pick something out of it that was good news. To anybody on Universal Credit, can I just say to you, my heart goes out to you. You know, what if they're going to, if the biggest thing they can come out to help you is putting you in front of a work coach, that's just dreadful.
For what they won't exist in 6 or 8 months' time.
Yeah.
Now, but David, before we round this up, because we're on the 50-minute mark, I want to talk about next Wednesday.
No going then.
9:45 a.m. The Supreme Court will tell us whether Scotland's a colony or an equal partner in a union.
Why did they come up with 9:45? Why not 10 o'clock?
Because 9:45 is when the judges go into courts. 10 o'clock when they start hearing cases. The judgment has already been made, so it can be issued right away.
Yeah, and at 10 o'clock is when all the news services, and in Europe as well, they'll be on board and all the rest of it, right?
And they'll be past that moment's a headline news, so they'll be looking for something to lead on to the next news programme.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that one, because from what I've heard, I'm hearing the chatter that it can go either way. I believe they're not going to make any decision on it whatsoever. They're going to throw it away, effectively say, look, we cannot make a decision on this. And you think to yourself, well, why did you say that the decision would be announced at 9:45 next Wednesday?
Yeah, but a decision to sit on the fence is still a decision.
Yeah, well, I suppose. Yeah.
But, I've speculated on this myself a lot, and I agree with you. That's where I thought they were going to go. Because there are other things that influence the decision that they can make, and that includes recent bills. You might have heard me speaking about this. No, you wouldn't, because I haven't spoken about this and they talked anything. I have in the past, but not now. But you've got to remember that there have been new bills that have been introduced, like the Nationalities and Borders Bill, the Covert Human Resources Bill, and within these internal security bills, what it says is that anything which endangers the national security or economic security of the UK is not allowed.
Yeah.
So could that influence the Supreme Court? Because let's face it, Scotland breaking away would be a danger to England's national security and to England's economic security.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest danger to England's economic security is the Tories and Labour.
Well, actually, I would go beyond that and say it's the Crown, which tops their class system.
Yeah.
I was talking today in my videos about the idea that some of these ministers have been bullies, and talking about the public school system, where being a bully is rewarded as strength. You get given a swagger stick so you can beat younger children.
The FBI actually turned that into science. They figured out that all the serial killers out there all had problems with relationships with their mothers. So, what does your wealthy Tory family do?
Abandoned by their mothers at 7 and sent into bloody public schools.
That's right. And then they give them swagger sticks so that they can beat the hell out the weird ones, right? So they become bitter and twisted, wee angry men, right?
With the right to die.
That's right. Yeah. And you just need to take one look at Rees-Mogg to understand that he must have been bullied at some time in his life.
Actually, I don't believe that for a second. If he's that wealthy to find somebody else to bully, I'll fuck his father. But you know me, David, I'm an absolute cynic. But I see all this stuff in the round. I'm quite good at spotting it. It must be a character flaw in myself. Maybe I think the way these buggers think.
Martin Noble has just put up another thing. He says Martin Lewis has a good video post-budget on YouTube and Facebook. Now, I'm going to go and search that out, Scott, definitely.
I like Martin Lewis.
This would be a lot easier. See, all you guys that are on Facebook, just get yourselves across onto YouTube. It's far easier for us. I'm having to try and scan two blooming sets of comments here, right? Some of the ones that are on YouTube that we can actually bring across and highlight. So, Facebook, fair enough, but, for these broadcasts, get yourself onto YouTube.
Nah, you've got it all wrong, David. You've got it all wrong. We don't want to be stuck on one platform. We want the multi-platform.
Right, okay. I appreciate that. It's a case of putting all your eggs in one basket. I appreciate that. Steve Chaps,
with all eggs in one basket. The reason why I say at the end of my videos is share across your social media platforms is because if people think what we've got to say is important, then more people have to hear it.
Ali Watson says, I cannot find you guys on Clegbook.
Way good. Well,
anyway,
lots of people can find us on Clegbook. Because I built the audience up, my audience up on Clegbook.
I appreciate that.
And people are pretty stuck in their ways, David. So what we need to do is meet their social media needs.
Aye.
Rather than them complying with what's easier for us.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but I came out of Twitter the other day there. Closed my account. I'm not taking anything to do it anymore. It's full of haters and really, really angry people. And I don't need that anymore. I used to see Nicola Sturgeon putting up something like, "Oh, we've just given £25 to the children in poverty." Good thing, but then you get some. The first comment out of the thing is, "Aye, but what about the ships at Ferguson, right?" And it just all comes out, And where's the 600,000? I feel like answering, but I've got it, So
there you go. I've got it. And I'm putting this for a referendum campaign.
Oh yeah, it's me that's getting 20 million. That's right. Aye.
Don't tell Sarah I'm going to spend my pension on it. No.
Don't go there. Don't go. Middle of the night, it doesn't look good having a blooming 12-inch knife sticking out your chest. All right.
Right, I spent the last amount of money I had in my life. The pension don't get left. I'm not spending that at all.
It's something that David and I have talked about, not extensively, but we've talked about in the past. Both of us, in the run up to the last referendum, we spent a packet. We really, really did.
68,000 I spent, David.
Yeah, well, I haven't put a number on mine because I would cry, something like that. No, I don't want to cry about it.
No, I know what I spent.
Yeah, I just want to make it happen. That's it.
£68,248.
Yeah. No. Ouch. Yeah, I know. Enough said.
For 3 days when we lost. That was a combination of hard cash and lost islands, obviously.
Yeah.
Same
here.
Right.
There was a whole bundle of contracts I could have gone after at the time that I didn't. So that's the reason why and there were contracts I could have picked up, no bother at all. But it was getting in the way. My country was far, far more important to me personally than going out and winning an extra few £1,000s on a contract.
No, it's the reason why you and I are here today, because we waited the same attitude.
Yeah.
It was more important to spend what we had to give the children a future.
Yeah.
Than what it
was.
I
don't give it. Money doesn't drive me. I've been lucky. I don't know if you call it. I've been in a situation where I've had a lot of money and it does nothing for me. It's an embarrassing subject.
Why is it being the day off, Davey? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what money does.
Yeah.
It allows you to enjoy your day off.
Yeah.
I'm having a day off a day we're talking about serious subjects, but I can come up and enjoy a wee beer in the afternoon while doing it.
That's right. That's right.
Right, listen, we've hit the hour mark.
Yep.
I hope that people who have participated today have found it interesting, informative, and entertaining. I think the entertaining part is really important because you really have to draw an audience to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, if please let us know if you want us to go the two Mr. Straight-Lace, because that would bore the arse off of me, and I really don't think you would like it either. I wouldn't
even fucking talk to you if you tried Straight-Lace. If there's any jokes and laughs in it, I'm not talking to you, you bum. The core of the relationship into the years is we're quite serious buggers, but we get the funny side here. Right. Anyway, thanks very much for your participation, folks. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and press the bell notification button. And if you're on Facebook, give me a couple of minutes to change it to public, the video, and then share it around. And please, everybody, if you like what we do, share it across your social media platforms. Okay?
At least one thing to say.
Bye, Davey.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Or if I was on radio, I'd say, I'll be the who.